Unemployment is up. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. Well, it looks like the unemployment rate has gone up. Let's have a look at this article from the ABC and then a few other things as well. I don't think it will come as a surprise to most people. And I have to ask everyone, do you think this will affect the RBA's decision with next month's interest rate cuts? What do you reckon? Do you think it'll drive them to another cut, or will they hold off, depending on the retail sector? Let's have a look. So, unemployment on the rise again as jobs fall for the first time in 3 years. Australia's jobless queues has lengthened, again with the unemployment rate jumping back up to 5.3% in October. Now I've got the jump over here. We can see we had a jump down to 5.2 last month, and now it's back up to 5.3 where it was sitting the previous 2 months before the last change. Let's have a look at the 5-year chart. You can see where we're heading, 10-year chart, and the 25-year chart. So it's still not as bad as it was back in the 90s. Oh boy, remember that, guys? Or look at that jump there with the GFC. But it is back up again. The jump in unemployment was coupled with the first net loss in jobs since August 2016. On seasonally adjusted figures, the number of jobs fell 19,000 over the month. At the same time, the number of unemployed workers grew by more than 17,000 to 726,100 people. The weakness was further reflected in the fact fewer people were looking for work, with the participation rate edging down to 66%. Now that's a really important, and that's one of the more concerning numbers, is the participation rate. Because if people are just giving up or stepping out or unable to find employment, we've seen with the older Australians, it's harder for them to find work as well. If you are over 50 and you lose a job, well, it's pretty difficult in you getting a job again. The data continued the trend of a steady increase in the unemployment rate since it dropped to a low of 4.9% in February. It also pushed the rate further from the Reserve Bank's target of full employment at 4.5% or lower, the theoretical level at which wages growth should take off in a material way. Now, if we're just jumping back here to trading economics, we can see the October unemployment rate. The consensus and the trading economics forecast were different. It was actually at the consensus. So there you go. There you go. Did the RBA expected? The deteriorating situation follows yesterday's disappointing wage price index figures, showing workers' pay was barely keeping ahead of inflation in key sectors such as manufacturing, retail, and construction. Well, let's have a quick look at that data. And I did a video on this yesterday, and I will link to it. I'm just making a finger gesture there so I remember what time I do it. If we scroll down here, we can have a look at wage price index by industry, ordinary time excluding bonuses, and this was the quarter-on-quarter change and the year change. Now, one of the worst performers, and I'm going to change to a color that we can see. Let's have a look at mining, quarter-on-quarter. It was, do it in green, Florence, so you can't see it. That's it. I'll cover it in all bloody colors, turn it black. So mining, we can see the quarter-on-quarter change was quite low. Look at that, 0.5. The year-on-year, it definitely is not doing as well as other portions of the economy. We've got manufacturing, electric, gas, water and waste, construction. You can see that. What do we have here? Retail and wholesale trade, they both haven't been very good year on year. Accommodation and food, it wasn't too bad in that quarter. It was the best performing one in that quarter, but still pretty low, but year on year it's, Transport, postal and warehousing, information, media and telecommunications, finance and insurance. We can see finance and insurance had a bad quarter on quarter, but their year was okay. Okay. Now, there's another chart here that I want to bring up, and this is the difference in the public and private sector, the index. You can see here, the red line is the wage price index for the public sector year on year, and purple is the wage price index for the private sector year on year. You can see there's, I think you need to stay in the public sector, don't you? You're getting, well, artificially inflated wage increases that don't align with the rest of the economy. And in this article, the key drivers of the wage increases that we did have in the last quarter were from the public sector. So guys, keep that in mind. It's a little concerning. And we can see here the unemployment rate versus the jobs created. And, well, there you go. Jobs created is in the negative. Unemployment rate has inched up. Happened as well in 2016. And yes, so it's a warning sign. A spike in unemployment in New South Wales and more modest rise in Victoria drove the results, with the jobless rate either steady or falling in other states. 10,300 full-time jobs and 8,700 part-time jobs were shed in October. The number of people out of work grew by more than 17,000 to 726,100. Now let's jump over to the ABS and have a look at some of their data, guys. Okay, so the employed people seasonally adjusted, we can see it's starting to head down. The trend is slowly curving over. And the unemployment rate, well, the trend is starting to flatten now. It's starting to flatten, but seasonally adjusted, it's spiking up. October key points. Employment increased by 12,300 to, let's say, 12.9 million people. Full-time employment increased by 5,800 to 8.8 million. And part-time employment increased by 6,500 to 4.1 million. Unemployment increased by 1,800 to 722,400. Unemployment remained steady at 5.3. Participation rate remained steady at 66.1. Monthly hours worked in all jobs increased by 2.9 million. Okay, that's the trend estimates and the seasonally adjusted estimates. And this is what the reporting is on. Employment decreased by 19,000 to 12.9 million. 10,000 decreased for full-time, 8,700 of part-time. The unemployment increased by 17,100. The unemployment rate increased by 0.1 points to 5.3. Participation rate decreased by 0.1 points to 66%. Monthly hours worked on in all jobs decreased by 2.8 million hours. The month and the labour underutilization, the monthly trend unemployment rate remained steady at 8.5%, and the monthly underutilization rate remained steady at 13.8. So there is another bit of data that I think everyone should be made aware of, and this is from Roy Morgan. And they have a different methodology to collecting the data. Okay, they do a different approach to the ABS, and I've gone through that in a previous video, and if you're interested I will link to that above up here. I'm just writing down the time, 8:20, Roy Morgan. Now I am concerned with ABS's methodology, frankly, because 1 hour a week within the time period, 1 hour of work is not enough to live off, isn't it? It's not really a job, it's a hobby. So Roy Morgan unemployment and underemployment estimates, and we'll scroll down here. So here we have at the top the unemployed or underemployed. That's the unemployed, looking for work, or underemployed. So what I'm going to do, just so I don't forget, because of their funny chart. I need to bring it into Excel to do this, but for now, this will be good. So here we go, we're scrolling right down to today, to 2019. And oh, look at that. Perfect. So, unemployed or underemployed, we can see, well, there we go, 16 point, oh, I can't click on it. Anyway, 16.7%. Unemployed, they have it at 7.8%. Underemployed is at 18.9. Okay, so notice how the ABS is claiming it's at 5.3, where here they're claiming it at 7.8. And the underemployed, which I think is a very important consideration, at 8.9. And just look at the total there, 16.7 combined. Okay, so we're looking at over 15% of the economy either unemployed, or the workforce either unemployed, not all the population, just the workforce, either unemployed or underemployed. So guys, that's serious consideration. Let me know if you have experienced this in any portions of the economy. You know, I'm certain people in the construction industry could relate to this. Small business people could relate to this. Let me know your stories and what you think in the comments below. Thank you for joining me for this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you like my channel and want to help me produce more content, I do have a Patreon and a subscribe style where you can make a small monthly donation. I also have affiliate links for Amazon and eBay where I get a kickback if you make a small purchase. It doesn't cost you a cent. And finally, I have PayPal and crypto links if you want to donate that way. Every little bit helps, and it makes it easier for me to produce this content and pay for the tools that I need. Take care, guys. Have a great day, and I will talk to you later. Bye for now.